Yo, what is going on, Guardians, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 gameplay video. So I recently returned from a 3-week hiatus from Destiny. You know, I've been playing this game for 7 years now, and every now and then, I get the urge to step back and play some other games for a little bit, just to let my brain disengage from the Destiny grind for a brief time. And having done that this past month, I came back to Destiny with some suspicions that I previously had about the game end up being fully verified and validated upon my return. There's 3 things I learned about Destiny in comparison to other games that I think are worth noting. One is a positive observation about the developer, one is a criticism about the developer, and the third is an observation about the community. But before we dive into those 3 items, let's take a moment to highlight the sponsor of today's video, Red Magic, who makes incredible top-of-the-line gaming phones. I've never used a gaming phone before, and I have to admit my expectations were pretty low. But when I started playing mobile games on this Red Magic 6 Pro, I was absolutely blown away by the performance you can get out of something that fits in my pocket. I went from gaming on an iPhone to gaming on a 165Hz screen with a lightning fast touch registration. My first round of PUBG Mobile on this thing was literally a walk in the park to a chicken dinner, I kid you not. The most notable differences, besides the incredible 165Hz screen, is actually the triggers on the phone itself. So I don't have to break up my movement in shooters to touch the shooting buttons on the screen itself, and the fact that this baby has a top-of-the-line internal cooling system. I had a nice hour-long gaming session and never felt the temperature of the phone rise, unlike my standard mobile phone, which would get quite hot to the touch. Besides that, the phone has all the features you'd like in a standard mobile device with tons of storage, a great camera, and an operating system that you're already familiar with, so you can hit the ground running. If you're into gaming and looking at getting a new phone, I recommend checking out the Red Magic 6 and the 6 Pro. Click the link in the description to get started and check out the specs for yourself. And thank you very much, Red Magic, for sponsoring this video today. Okay, back to the Destiny discussion. Let's kick this thing off with the good news, right? We'll start with the positive observation about Destiny in comparison to other games. This is a position I already held, but this hiatus definitely solidified it for me. Bungie has absolutely mastered fluidity of movement and gunplay in their games. There's no game out there that has mastered the relationship between gamer and their avatars and gamer and their weapons quite like Bungie has. The reason Destiny feels so immersive is because there are so few barriers between you and your character in the game. You feel like you have total control and a direct line right to your Guardian and to your weapon. It does what you want, when you want, with pristine fluidity. I've been playing a ton of games lately like Outriders, Apex Legends, State of Decay, Phasmophobia, a bunch of Halo Master Chief Collection, just tons of different games. And while these are fantastic titles, the only one that comes close to matching Bungie's mastery over character movement and gunplay is Respawn with Apex Legends, and nothing else holds a candle in that department. While the Halo series may have been Bungie's baby years back, they clearly took what they learned and pushed themselves further in this capacity, and even the more recent Halo titles feel somewhat rigid and even prehistoric, so to speak, in comparison to Destiny's player control. It feels rigid and limited, so there's something to be said about Bungie's ability to put you directly in your Guardian's shoes. It's perhaps one of the things that helped Destiny players feel so connected to the game for so long. We feel like when we get our boots on the ground in Destiny, we're fully immersed in our Guardian, and there are a few clunky factors that break that immersion. That being said, let's move on to a criticism. Compared to other titles, Destiny seems to really struggle with tuning their sandbox in a timely fashion. If there's a problem in the game, it usually takes a very long time to get addressed. If there's something that's imbalanced and hurting the integrity of the game, it usually takes a very long time to get addressed. I know full well that Destiny is a complex game, and comparing it apples to apples to other games is a bit unfair. But at the same time, perception is reality. When you're not a developer, you're just a gamer, right? And you've got the power, you've got the money to say where you're going to spend it and what games you're going to play. The way you perceive the game really matters, whether it's accurate or not. So when my experience is more negative than positive, it's hard for the gamer to say, oh, it'll take them some time to iron that out. Destiny's a very complex game. It's much more realistic for the gamer to have a more negative perception of the experience and say, hey, Respawn nerfed this and that almost immediately, right? Outriders pounced on some broken mechanics to protect the integrity of their endgame activities. Why can't Bungie just make some minor changes to a few weapons and abilities one at a time and start reeling things back in instead of waiting 4 months, 5 months, 6 months to address them? So while we understand the reality of the situation on Bungie's end, it doesn't help the fact that the sandbox has glaring issues that have very real effects on players' motivation to play the game. Their perception is that Bungie fixes problems slowly, and these other developers are fixing things quickly and pumping out fresh content on top of that as well. So Bungie has some real challenges in this department, but speedy sandbox changes would really go a long way in helping with their player retention and the overall attitude the community has towards them. And now the final observation: the Destiny PvP community that is vocal is generally pretty toxic compared to other games. I mean, there are tons of great eggs out there in our community that are leaders in the PvP community who are just wonderful people, but having spent a lot of time interacting with, you know, the Apex Reddit groups and the forums and interacting with talented players in that community, I mean, there's certainly elitism and toxicity in any competitive environment, but it felt notably less so. The judgmental attitudes towards specific preferred champions and weapons and loadouts that you gravitate towards was much more timid over there. I don't know what happened to the Destiny PvP community, but there are so many vocal PvPers across all social media platforms that hurl insults, negative stereotypes at players simply based on their preferred classes and weapons and general approach to PvP. And I'm not talking about ranked play or trials play specifically. I mean, the PvP community will light players up for how they play pubs and quick play matches. It's mind-boggling how seriously the elite PvP part of the Destiny community takes standard PvP activities, and it's appalling how that community often treats casual gamers or gamers who are talented but focus their talent on a different approach to the game. If you want an example of this, just start reading comment threads on Twitter in regard to the announcement that Quick Draw was going to be removed from Felminter's Lie and Astral Horizon. You'd think the community that preaches adapt, adapt, adapt when new broken things come out would be the first ones to say adapt to the nerf, but they weren't. They took to the virtual streets, lighting comment threads aflame and bashing any player who disagreed with the nerf. Many notable PvP elites in the streaming community even took shots at me for simply having a different perspective than they did on the issue. And the problem is, they influence a lot of people in the PvP community, so they just start regurgitating what they see and perpetuating the judgmental elitist mentality. Destiny's PvP community needs to come to grips with the fact that this game is not a hyper-competitive esports game, and they need to ease off the elitist attitudes and just let Destiny players enjoy Destiny in their own ways. Provide your feedback to the developer if you have an issue with an approach, a weapon, an ability, whatever. But to spill that over on how you treat other gamers is simply just flat out silly, you know? So heaping loads of criticism and stereotypes on gamers for gaming, we gotta break that habit as a community. And that's basically it for my 3 observations. Let me know what you think about each of these observations in the comments section below. And I leave you with this interaction I had with a couple of fans in the tower. Tuatha, if you're out there, it was just a friendly troll and I love you. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible.
What have I done?